The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. My name is John David Wells. It's Tuesday. Man, this work week is flying by. Not? Are you still frozen? Me too. What do we do on this broadcast? Glad you asked. We report the news, honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. In short, we de-propagandize the mainstream media. We're good at it. We make commentary. That is not news. We differentiate between when we're commenting on the news and when we actually report it. Because commentary is opinion, yours and mine. And so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Former President Donald Trump clinched victory in the Iowa caucuses by an amazing margin that we have not seen in a long time, if ever. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis secured second place ahead of former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. Entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, the political newcomer, suspended his long-shot 2024 campaign after the caucuses came to a close, telling supporters that he has no path forward for his campaign. He then, of course, he then endorsed Donald Trump. More about that coming up a little bit later on. So Ramaswamy dropped out of the presidential race. His campaign spokesperson, Tricia McLaughlin, confirmed that last night. No path for me to be the next president, etc. He said the next president must be an America First president. He said there were two people that fit that bill, himself and Donald Trump, and then decided to throw his support behind Donald Trump. Ron DeSantis finished in second place behind Trump. That was not necessarily a surprise. I had pretty much come to the conclusion that DeSantis was going to get around Nikki Haley. And the reason is because I don't know what happened to Ron DeSantis about 3 weeks ago, but he suddenly became more comfortable in his own skin. He became more comfortable as a presidential candidate, and that confidence exuded from him as he continued his press events. Maybe he just hit his stride, but I knew that was going to make a difference. And Nikki Haley, very smart, very witty, very good, was not somebody that I could see as being able to break away from what Ron DeSantis had said, which was that she was a creature beholden to her contributors and to her politics. Now, DeSantis is also beholden to his politics, is also beholden to that entire process. Both DeSantis and Nikki Haley are machine politicians. They are Republican politicians. And I don't think that's what Iowans want. Now, there's a long process ahead. You know, Donald Trump had a stunning Iowa caucus. It was just stunning. And like I said, we'll talk more about that coming up. But at the end of all of it, I'm pretty sure that the American people are finished with politics as usual in Washington. They didn't get the message in 2016. I wonder if they're going to get the message 8 years later in 2024. Donald Trump took a conciliatory approach to his victory. I want to play this video for you because it's important that you see it. It's a little different Donald Trump than what you're used to. But check this out and tell me whether or not you can see the differences. Donald Trump last night.
I want to thank the great people of Iowa. Thank you. We love you all. What a turnout, what a crowd. And I really think this is time now for everybody, our country, to come together. We want to come together, whether it's Republican or Democrat or liberal or conservative. It would be so nice if we could come together and straighten out the world and straighten out the problems and straighten out all of the death and destruction that we're witnessing that's practically never been like this. It's just so important, and I want to make that a very big part of our message. We're going to come together. It's going to happen soon, too. It's going to happen soon. I want to thank some of the great people. We have so many senators. If I go through every name, we'll be here all night, and everybody's going to get angry at me. But the senators, the congressmen from Washington, they came down from all different states. I want to thank you very much. I want to congratulate Ron and Nikki for having a good time together. We're all having a good time together. And I think they both actually did very well. I really do. I think they both did very well. We don't even know what the outcome of second place is. And I see Carrie Lake. Congratulations, Carrie. Very good. I spotted her, I have to announce, because she's terrific. She's going to be a senator, a great senator, I predict, right? You're going to be a great senator. And I also want to congratulate Vivek, because he did a hell of a job. He came from zero, got a big percent, probably 8%, almost 8%, and that's an amazing job. They all did. They're all very smart people, very capable people.
And the president was, like I said, conciliatory. I've long criticized President Donald Trump for essentially handing out ammunition after he shoots himself in the foot for saying things that are loose, that are undisciplined. I said that if Donald Trump wanted to be the president of the United States again, he was going to have to start acting like a president. That's what that looks like. Right there. That's what Donald Trump as a president looks like. Now, there are techniques involved in making sure that you have some idea of how you're going to get your message across. And the use of the terms bird brain and desanctimonious and so on and so forth, they're called hooks. And that's part of the complex communication that is required to punch through and make an absolute impression on people who are only halfway listening. Especially in the first part of this campaign, people were going, I don't want to deal with this. I just dealt with this. I don't want to deal with this again. Well, those things are a way to punch through, but you didn't see that last night. He called Ron DeSantis Ron instead of DeSanctimonious. And he called Nikki Haley Nikki instead of bird brain. Vivek was another guy that, you know, he was very conciliatory towards, because I believe that some of these people are going to have jobs if indeed the president wins again. I think they're going to have jobs with that candidacy. Ron DeSantis indeed finished second. His message was triumphant without being crazy about it. Check this out.
They threw everything but the kitchen sink at us. They spent almost $50 million attacking us. No one's faced that much all the way just through Iowa. The media was against us. They were writing our obituary months ago. They even called the election before people even got a chance to vote. But they were just so excited about the fact that they were predicting that we wouldn't be able to get our ticket punched here out of Iowa. But I can tell you, because of your support, in spite of all of that they threw at us, everyone against us, we've got our ticket punched out of Iowa. And what I learned by going around Iowa is that this country has a basic decency. We've got hardworking people, God-fearing people, patriotic people. You just don't see it every day because of all the nonsense that gets spewed out there by the media, by social media, all this other stuff. People want to have hope for this country's future, and that's what we represent. We represent a chance to reverse the madness that we've seen in this country, to reverse the decline of this country, and to give this country a new birth of freedom and a restoration of sanity. That's what we are going to do.
That was a good message. And he issued it very, very well, pointed out some of the things that were difficult for him to deal with, but he managed, and that was well done. And so Nikki Haley had her chance as finishing third, but she was also extremely interesting from a standpoint of her particular impressions of the race she just ran. And she made a point that I didn't think about. Check this out for yourself.
We have had an amazing 11 months here in the Hawkeye State. I came to Iowa early and often, and I kept coming back, even though the cold weather is brutal. But the kindness of Iowans will never be lost on me. You're faithful, patriotic, and hardworking Americans. And I will forever be grateful for the time that we had. At one point in this campaign, there were 14 of us running. I was at 2% in the polls. But tonight, Iowa did what Iowa always does so well. The pundits will analyze the results from every angle. We get that. But when you look at how we're doing in New Hampshire, in South Carolina, and beyond, I can safely say tonight, Iowa made this Republican primary a two-person race.
All right, so you can't falter for not having optimism. However, I believe once again that Ron DeSantis did paint her as a machine politician, and I think a lot of it stuck, at least in Iowa. But she does point out something that is incredibly important that people do indeed react to, and that's this. This race is far from over. There's a lot more to be done. Now, there were a couple of other things that happened. There was an entrance poll that Fox did with regard to people believing whether the 2020 election was fair or whether there was cheating involved. The result of that entrance polling was 68% of the people about to vote believe the 2020 election was rigged. Now, you would normally say, oh my God, what have we done here? But think about this carefully. Most of the people that were coming to caucus last night are Republicans, and Republicans in polling, going back as far as you want to go, do believe indeed that there was some serious problems with the 2020 election. So you're going to see that and you're going to go, oh my God, will we have an honest election? Just remember that these are Republicans saying that. This is a one-sided poll. I'm pointing that out. Now, I'm also pointing out the obviousness of it all, that we did not spend time, that the Congress didn't spend time, especially considering that it was a Republican Congress, that they did not spend time going back and looking at the 2020 election truthfully. That we didn't actually investigate any of it because we found ways of avoiding the truth in it. Whether it was, hey, the election was fine, or whether, hey, there were problems with the election. We did not go through that process. And that unknowing is haunting the 2024 election. And there's no excuse for it. There's none. And everybody says, well, the Democrats always cheat. Well, yeah, okay, but how come the Republicans didn't take a look at that election too? We have a weaponization of executive branch agencies, a committee's looking at that. How come we didn't have a select committee on what happened in 2020? No, Republicans are playing the game too, aren't they? This is the Wells Report. John David Wells, thanking you very much for joining us on Tuesday morning. More coverage next as we continue. Stay put.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. The chat room is continuing unabated today. We want to say thanks to John and Yvonne and also Ann Hoy Guzman, who has joined us and said this. Remember that the Iowa caucus was comprised of paper ballots and counted very quickly. Interesting that you should say that, Ms. Guzman, because you're not the only one that noticed. In fact, John King of CNN happened to notice that very same thing and wanted to talk about it on his broadcast. So check this out.
DeSantis, Haley, Trump. That's it.
Now, if you've been keeping track, this is not an official tally because we have to make sure that the number of people registered equals or the number of ballots is not great. It's equal to or less than the number of people here. So, hold on.
What you just heard there was important, especially at a time when so many people have been told to doubt the integrity of elections, right? There you have, I don't know her name, that's a wonderful Republican official out in Potawatomi County saying, we're going to count the votes. You just heard us do it live. But that's not official because now we're going to double check the count. This is what happens everywhere, in Democratic precincts, in Republican precincts, in evenly drawn precincts, all across America on election nights, whether they're using a hand ballot like this and counting it right before your very eyes, doing the arithmetic we all learned in grammar school, or whether they're using machines, but they can also double check the machines as well. There are ways to do this. This, to me, as someone who's done this for 40 years, forgive me for editorializing, is the saddest part of our democracy, that people doubt this. You're watching it tonight. Republicans, this is a Republican process you're watching tonight. These are honest, hardworking Americans counting votes, doing it right. There's every reason to believe, because it has always been so, that this will continue all the way through the process. I love watching this because it's working the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah, that's John King from CNN. And he said a few things there that you need to be aware of. One, he said that the people that were doing this were doing it out in the open right in front of your very eyes. Now go back to some of the states, specifically Pennsylvania, putting up boards on windows so people couldn't see. Which of those two kinds of elections would you rather look at? He also said that he apologized for editorialization. John King is a real news journalist. He realizes that whenever somebody says the now disproven, debunked, the now obviously false something or other about the 2020 election, that's editorialization. He doesn't do it. He reports the story. He reports the facts. And he is inspired by seeing this all play out right in front of your face. And that's the way it always should be. In the 2020 election, it was the most important overriding imperative that Donald Trump be defeated. And all of the possible opportunities appear to have been used to bring about Donald Trump's defeat. And it was done in the dark of night. And it was done behind blocked windows. And it was just plain denied. And in doing so, those architects of whatever that was, if anything, I'm not saying it was or wasn't, what they did was they opened up what will be a sea change in American elections. Because at some point, we're going to get back to one-day voting. It should be a national holiday. It should be a national holiday where people have time to go and vote. And it needs to be done on paper. And they need to be counted on paper. And we need to quit screwing around with our elections. Because people say famously that Donald Trump is going to destroy democracy. Well, if we can't trust our election, then democracy is already destroyed. Our telephone number is 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. The Iowa caucuses. An amazing evening for one Donald John Trump. And others too. And we'll talk more about that as we continue. This is the Wells Report. Thanks again for joining us. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. My name is John David Wells. Thank you for taking time with this broadcast. If you find value in it, please share it with your friends. Subscribe to this broadcast. Ask your friends to do the same thing. Ask them to hit the notification button so that you know when we're on the air. And give us those thumbs ups. Those are really important. They get the attention of people that are watching this broadcast, not from a standpoint of content, but from a standpoint of viability. And the more you help us with that, the better it is. If you would like to make a monetary contribution to this broadcast, by all means, go to Patreon. Patreon.com/The Wells Report, $1 or $2 a month. Hey, goes a very long way on this very small, but I think very important news broadcast that happens every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the platform you're watching. So we did not want to let Vivek Ramaswamy not be talked about today. He is a guy who has worked very, very hard to say very good things about this nation, about the process. I liked the way he ran his campaign, but it came to an end last night. Here is how he broke the news to his followers, and watch this carefully.
And I, we actually didn't make this contingency plan before everybody told us to. We said, no, we're not doing that. But we talked about it tonight. We took a little bit of time in our apartment in Des Moines before coming here to make some hard choices. And I wanted to make a couple of announcements tonight to get the business out of the way. And then I want to tell you where we're going. As of this moment, we are going to suspend this presidential campaign. And this is going to have to be, there is no path for me to be the next president absent things that we don't want to see happen in this country. And I think that I am very worried for our country. I think we are skating on thin ice as a nation. We have done everything in our part to make, and done, every one of us in this room has done our part to save this country. And I am so proud of every one of you who have lifted us up, but we're a campaign founded on the truth. And so that's why we've made that decision today. And I'm also making the decision that this has to be an America First candidate in that White House. As I've said since the beginning, there are two America First candidates in this race. And earlier tonight, I called Donald Trump to tell him that I congratulated him on his victory. And now going forward, he will have my full endorsement for the presidency. And I think we're going to do the right thing for this country. And so I'm going to ask you to follow me in taking our America First movement to the next level.
Vivek Ramaswamy brought a lot of things to this campaign that are important to note. I have noted them in the past. If you have heard this, then please, by all means, forgive my repetition. But Vivek Ramaswamy, more than anyone else running for the 2024 Republican nomination, did things that people that are serious actually do. And that is, he focused on the issues as he saw them. He was very adept at communicating his ideas. He was open to criticism and questioning, and did it right in front of everybody. He had no fear of being caught in some sort of gotcha question because he simply told the truth. That's how you win. At least that's how I think you should win. But as I was talking about Donald Trump before, remember the cutesy names, you know, Crooked Hillary, Crooked Joe, Sleepy Joe, Bird Brain for Nikki Haley, DeSanctimonious, all that kind of stuff. Sometimes you got to have a little spice for the stew. And while I think it's damaging and divisive in a lot of ways, and I think it makes it puts a lot of turbulence in the water, it can be effective. If Vivek Ramaswamy, and he did at the beginning in these primaries, I don't know whether it worked for him, but he was combative and pugnacious in those Republican primaries. It may have hurt him. But toward the end, as Ron DeSantis was able to hit his stride, I think Vivek Ramaswamy also did the same thing. He hit his stride. He realized that he had to talk about the issues. He had to talk about what was important. Instead of getting down in the dirt and starting kicking people around and trying to create notoriety, he stuck to his message. And again, that's the way I think people actually want to have their candidates speak to them. We were also talking about John King from CNN. John King is a guy who is a real news journalist on television, knows the actual rules that are required to be a successful news journalist, and indeed sticks to those rules by saying, gosh, forgive me for my editorialization. Forgive me for for this and maybe swimming upstream just a little bit, but these are Republicans doing the exact right thing. This is how you're supposed to run an election. And the implied, well, that's not the way it always happens, is hanging out there for anybody to see. MSNBC has somebody on the air named Joy Reid, who before the Iowa caucuses began last night, started, I don't know, laying the groundwork for outrage, division, anger. And she did it in a way that is sadly consistent and damaging. This is Joy Reid from MSNBC last night.
Iowa is about 61% white Christian. The country as a whole is approximately 41% white Christian. And in Iowa, we're talking about evangelical white Christians. And he said the following, because I asked him, what do they get out of supporting Donald Trump? Because he keeps losing, he keeps delivering losses and losses and losses. And he said the following, they see themselves as the rightful inheritors of this country. And Trump has promised to give it back to them. All the things that we think about electability, about, what are people gaming out, or none of that matters when you believe that God has given you this country, that it is yours, and that everyone who is not a white conservative Christian is a fraudulent American.
That is unacceptable. It's untrue. It is tarring people that are good, straightforward, patriotic Americans with racism and this surly willingness to diminish our neighbors for the sake of politics, which tells you more about Joy Reid and, oh, by the way, MSNBC than it does about the people of Iowa. Now, she went on to talk a little bit. Let me see if I can find this for you, because I thought I brought this news article up. Let me bring this up. What she said, let's see. Yeah, here we go. Joy Reid accuses white Christian Iowans of wanting to have people of color bow down to them. That's a quote. Let me read this to you. Okay. This from Fox News. MSNBC host Joy Reid responded to former President Trump's victory at the Iowa caucuses by condemning white Christians who support him. As the results came in, Reid told the panel of hosts she wished to discuss a specific data point about white Christians, one she had discussed with Robert Robbie Jones, the president and founder of Public Religion Research Institute and the author of The Hidden Roots of White Supremacy. She recounted that he had told her that Iowa is about 61% white Christian, whereas the country as a whole is approximately 41% white Christian. She asked him why this specific demographic supports Trump despite his history of electoral losses. You heard it. They see themselves as rightful inheritors of this country, and Trump has promised to give it back to them. She then expanded and told her co-hosts, all the things we think about, electability, about what people are gaming out, none of that matters when you believe that God has given you this country that is yours and that everyone who is not white, conservative Christian, is a fraudulent American, a less real American. Then you don't care about electability. You care about what God has given you, she said cynically. And then later on in the show, she said, it's a religion. And I think what we have to actually confront, and this is what Democrats are going to face, is this now that white evangelicalism is. It's a Christian nationalism. That's the name of it, right? And then she reiterated her earlier rhetoric about her talk with Jones. White evangelical Christians of a certain mindset think that they own this country, that immigrants, that brown people, that Hindus like Vivek Ramaswamy and his wife are illegitimate Americans. They are less legitimate Americans than they are. They're not trying to convince people and win people through politics. What they're saying is we own this country and everyone will bow down to us. I don't know what country Joy Reid lives in, but I don't live in that country with her. I find that reprehensible. I believe that Joy Reid is more toward the end of her career arc than toward the beginning of it. I believe that MSNBC is turning itself into a place where vile, disaffected, anti-American leftist progressives go to damage the country as much as they can. There is no excuse, none whatsoever. There's no excuse for this kind of commentary. The basic roots of white supremacy, as defined by people not white, is based in church? Really? Shall we talk about the black Christians in the United States? Shall we talk about them? You know, they've got a pretty strong Christian movement. They really do. Are you saying that white Christians are just plain evil and black Christians are okay, or are you just anti-Christian in general? You can't be. You can't be. But you sure can be a hypocrite regarding Christianity, can't you? Christians come together. Christians lift each other up. Christians don't give a tinker's damn about color of skin. They care about Christianity and what it teaches. And that's not color-based. The cynical, anti-unity, divide at all costs to politically conquer rhetoric of Joy Reid and others is just plain degenerately destructive. And Americans of all stripes, Americans of all backgrounds, need to uniformly reject it and continue to focus on perhaps the most famous Latin phrases in the United States of America. E pluribus unum. Of many, one. Donald Trump said it last night. He absolutely cleans the floor with everybody that are running against him in the Iowa caucuses. And he said, okay, we got to come together. He didn't talk about Republicans coming together. He talked about everybody coming together. Americans coming together. And of all the aches and pains and frustration and worry and fear and anxiety that we all face, it all comes down to one thing. We as the American people being fragmented, set against each other for the sake of politics. The only way that we can stop it is to reject it out of hand. Don't claim outrage. Be comfortable, quite literally, inside your own skin, regardless of what color it is. There are people in the United States of all backgrounds, of the entire world, but we all come together to be Americans. Hyphenated Americans celebrate the basic cultural differences that we can find in this country, but that's fine until you use it as a divisive way to split us apart. To take somebody like me and say, well, the default setting is that I hate brown people, is something that in my younger days would get you called out to physical confrontation. Now, I've discovered that my true power is to disassemble someone intellectually and verbally for the sake of everyone. And it's time for us to start considering that instead of the angry, divisive, totalitarian snot that spews from Joy Reid and those like her. Don't you think? This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. Telephone number 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. Back with more in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. Donald Trump, an amazing triumph in the competition of American politics, the Iowa caucuses. He finished with over 50% of the vote, handily putting away second place Ron DeSantis by almost 30 percentage points. 30. Nikki Haley hanging gamely in right behind Ron DeSantis. Vivek Ramaswamy saying, thanks, but I don't see a path. I'm going to support Donald Trump. And he has moved on from his campaign, which was, in a lot of ways, very inspiring. We'll see more of Vivek Ramaswamy. We've got some reaction coming up that we're going to go back through in the next hour of the Wells Report coming up in just a couple of moments. But strangely enough, there is other news. As a matter of fact, the news is sports. The NFL playoffs is decided after 6 games filled from the super wild card weekend. It was amazing. There was great NFL football, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about what we saw and what we didn't see. This from CNN Sports. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were the last to advance after beating the defending NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles 32-9. That happened last night. They moved on to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. The Bucs will play the Detroit Lions. That'll happen Sunday at 3 p.m. Ought to be a great game. Earlier yesterday, Buffalo Bills bested the Pittsburgh Steelers, a game that was delayed a day after wild winter storm conditions in Buffalo. I don't know whether you saw any of the video of the stadium there in Buffalo, but man, it looked bad. I mean, it looked like Antarctica bad. It was not good. The two teams faced off in frigid conditions, the temperatures of 17 degrees in Buffalo at time of kickoff. Well, all I can tell you is that it was 11 degrees here where we live in Fort Worth, Texas yesterday. It was kind of weird to realize that Buffalo, New York was somehow warmer than Fort Worth, Texas. That being said, the Bills took a big early lead, touchdown saluted by snow-tossing fans, and cruised to a 31-17 win. All right, so that was the football thing. Let's see. The Buccaneers will advance to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs after cruising past the Eagles. Buccaneers quarterback Baker Mayfield led the way, looking good doing it, by the way. He completed 22 of 36 pass attempts, 337 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Baker Mayfield can play. He set the tone early in the game. He connected with David Moore in the first quarter on a 44-yard catch and run touchdown. That was more David Moore than Baker Mayfield, but you got to be there. You got to get the ball to him, and Baker did the job. Mayfield would tally his second and third touchdowns in the third and fourth quarter to seal the victory for the Bucs. Proud of you, proud of our guys, proud of everybody in the building to stick together like we did in the second half of this year to get this spot, to keep fighting, to stick together, and don't listen to outside noise. Just trust the people next to you, Mayfield said after the game. Philadelphia, who was playing without star receiver A.J. Brown, struggled to get much offense going from the start, managed to score a touchdown toward the end of the second quarter. Jalen Hurts threw a bullet. I mean, it was, in baseball, it would be called a BB. It was a, 35, 45-yard pass that was right exactly on the button. It was amazing. And they got a touchdown after that. It cut the deficit to 9-16 at the half. That was as close as the Eagles would ever get, as the Buccaneers defense held Philadelphia scoreless in the second half. Hurts, who was playing after dislocating the middle finger of his throwing hand. Ow! That was in the final game of the regular season, finished with 250 passing yards and a touchdown in the loss. Still a very good night. After the starting the year with a 10-1 record, the Eagles lost 6 of their last 7. We're in a big slide, and anytime that's the case, I always look at myself first, said Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni after the game. It's almost like we couldn't get out of the rut we were in, and that's all of us. We'll have to look at ourselves in the mirror and accept that. The Buccaneers hosted Martin Luther King III and his family, Andrea Waters King and Yolanda Renee King, as honorary captains for the team's game. That happened last night. The King family participated in the game's coin toss. Having the King family in attendance to celebrate the remarkable legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on this special evening is an honor and a privilege, Buccaneers co-owner Darcy Glazer Kasowitz said in a statement. According to the Buccaneers, it was the first time the King III and his family had commemorated the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday at an NFL game. Both the Philadelphia Eagles and Tampa Bay Bucs faced huge pressure going into their playoff games. Both head coaches' jobs potentially on the line. Don't see either of those guys losing their jobs. Sirianni had seen his side slump during the second half of the Eagles season, with both the offense and defense cratering as Philadelphia lost 5 of its 6 final games. Let me tell you a little bit about that. One of the things about NFL football, it started with a guy named Pete Rozelle. Pete Rozelle was a guy who was an innovator, and he realized that the NFL had to be the pinnacle of the sport of American football. And so what he tried to do was try to figure out a way to get parity, so that on any given Sunday, any NFL team could defeat any other NFL team. To do that, he came up with something called NFL Films, where Steve Sable and his dad would film virtually every play. And then they started sending those plays to everybody else, so that everybody could see what everybody else was doing on a weekly basis. Which means that people figured out what Philadelphia was doing. And Philadelphia couldn't change it in time to be able to readjust to the adjustments that people realized were necessary to defeat the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not a statement of competence or courage or any of that. It's a statement of the NFL is a place where real, honest-to-goodness professionals know exactly how to defeat another person another team on any given Sunday. And they work to make it that way. Everybody's going to be fine in the Eagles. Next year, of course. This is the Wells Report. Hour number 2 is next.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning for the Wells Report. And make sure you share us with all your friends on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon. And don't forget to check out our Substack column, which will be coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. When you do all this, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us those thumbs up. They are really important. Check the notification box so you know when we're on the air. And whatever you do, join us every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Central Time, for the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. My name is John David Wells. What do we do here? We report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. In other words, we de-propagandize the mainstream media. We make commentary. That's not news. Commentary is opinion, both yours and mine. And so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Big night last night in Iowa. And Donald Trump put away the field in convincing fashion, winning 98 out of 99 counties. Yeah, Nikki Haley won one county. And people are sourcing and parsing through the facts, trying to find meaning and trying to look forward. Some people are doing so in a way that is more informative than divisive, but then there are the others too. CNN looked at things from, say, 6 takeaways. One of them was very smart, very capable people. CNN pointed out and noticed that as Donald Trump celebrated his historic victory, it was historic, he scrapped his usual nicknames and insults for his Republican rivals. He congratulated DeSantis, Haley, and biotech entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy for their performances and described all three as very smart, very capable people. Donald Trump is figuring out that the way to become the next president is to essentially be the next president. He needs to look beyond everybody in the race, including President Joe Biden, and speak directly to the people of the United States. And I think he figured that out yesterday. Certainly with regard to his fellow Republicans, we're going to see what he does with Joe Biden. He was pointed in his criticism of the president and made it plain that he believes the country is on the wrong track, in that he has solid footing. 70% of Americans agree with him, both Democrats and Republicans. Unless the Biden administration, the Democrat Party, figures out a way to stop being leftist, progressive, and governing in spite of the American people, they're going to go down in flames November 5th, 2024. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I'll be watching carefully, and I'll see what I will report the truth honestly. If they're able to figure it out, I'll tell you. If they're not able to figure it out, I'll tell you. You need facts, not fancy. You need your opinion, not mine. It's a 3-person race. This is number 2 on the 6 things that CNN noticed, but Trump is well ahead of the rest, with the former president topping 50% of the vote, 50% of the vote in Iowa, and neither DeSantis nor Haley separating themselves and delivering a definitive second-place finish. Republicans are no closer to the one-on-one Trump versus somebody primary race that eluded the party in 2016. Hasn't come to fruition this year either. Speaking to supporters after Trump had taken his victory lap, Haley and DeSantis both vowed to continue their campaigns. We got our ticket punched out of Iowa, said the Florida governor. We are going to continue. We're going to visit South Carolina, Haley's home state, Tuesday. Haley, for her part, is within single digits of Trump in New Hampshire, according to polls. She's hoping to capitalize on a more moderate primary electorate there and use it as a launch pad to effectively clear the field and position herself as the party's lone Trump alternative. Entrance polls showed the breadth of Trump's support across the GOP key constituencies. 53% of white evangelical Christians back Trump to DeSantis' 27%, Haley's 13%. Figures that underscore why Trump is the heavy favorite in South Carolina, where evangelicals make up a huge share of the party primary electorate, even though it's Haley's home state. It'll be fascinating to see just exactly how MSNBC's Joy Reid cares to stomp on white Christians in South Carolina, as she did with white Christians in Iowa. As I said, Joy Reid is finishing her career. You can only be poisonous for so long before some people just begin to get sick of you. And Joy Reid has crossed the Rubicon on that, at least in my broadcasting opinion. But then again, it's MSNBC, and MSNBC seems to fancy itself as a way to deride all things American for the sake of what? Leftist delirium? Whatever you say, that's fine. There is something about the constituency that was dominated by Nikki Haley. It may not help her out. Listen to this. One constituency which with Haley dominated were those who identified as moderate or liberal. She won support of 63% of that group, a number that would bode well for a general election matchup with President Joe Biden. Yeah, okay. But it also reflects how far Haley has to go to make inroads with the Republican primary electorate. The entrance poll found that Haley did well with those who believed that Biden fairly won the 2020 election, and those who said the quality mattered most to them was having the right temperament. DeSantis, meanwhile, showed more strength among core GOP constituencies of those that vote based on which candidates share their values. Trump led with 43%. DeSantis had 31% of those, as well as Haley's 13%. Still, with few signs of weaknesses from Trump, it's not clear whether DeSantis has opportunities to make gains. Haley wants to stop the Trump-Biden nightmare. As the race shifts more favorably toward Haley, she used her speech to argue that she's the antidote for a Biden-Trump rematch. She argued that the majority of Americans disapprove of both the current and former presidents and insisted her campaign is the last best hope of stopping the Trump-Biden nightmare. She congratulated Trump on his win, argued that the former president and Biden share more in common than you think. I don't think that's going to play. I certainly don't believe that that's going to play with Republican voters. I think what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to figure out, are you a part of a Republican populism, Ms. Haley, Governor Haley, Ambassador Haley? Or if you're not part of that, are you perhaps a front runner in the No Labels Party, which is solidly in the middle? There are plenty of Republicans, like me, for example, not that I'm a Republican, I'm a conservative, but people who are conservative. The simple case of the matter is that moderate Republicans are the most dangerous political faction in the nation because they talk a good game and they are silent when that good game needs to be forgotten about for a moment, while the enablement of leftist or Democrat policies moves forward. It's an ulterior part of the Republican Party and one that has been successful in hiding itself from the people of the United States. So if Nikki Haley wants to go down the road of Mitt Romney, by all means, go right ahead. Good luck with that. It's not going to work. It's just simply not going to work. DeSantis was declared all but dead and then finished in second place. DeSantis told supporters he'd survived having everything but the kitchen sink thrown at him. He's entering what could be a difficult stretch. Polls showing him far behind Trump and Haley in New Hampshire. Well, that may change. That may change. DeSantis did put an awful lot of his resources and an awful lot of what he needed to get done in Iowa. Will that help him in New Hampshire? Don't know. Don't know. He's got a lot of work to do in that particular state. If he decides to do anything there at all, he may just go directly to South Carolina. His hopes could largely depend on external factors, says CNN. Trump's upcoming trials could become a flashpoint that alters the race's trajectory, even though the people of Iowa said it meant absolutely nothing to them one way or another what was going on in Trump courtrooms. They were interested in what was going on with regards to Trump caucus rooms. And then there's this. We point out fact and bias, and here's some bias from CNN. It's another blow to Iowa's caucuses. Listen to what they have to say. DeSantis was all in on Iowa. He completed the full Grassley, visiting all 99 counties, a feat popularized by the state's longtime Republican Senator Chuck Grassley as an annual exercise. DeSantis also had the endorsement of the popular Governor Kim Reynolds. Ultimately, all it got him was a distant second-place finish behind a former president who hardly campaigned in Iowa and a late-rising rival who had long been more focused on New Hampshire. The results demonstrated the continuing nationalization of presidential nominating contests. Monday night made plain the fading influence of local officials. More than half of the state's GOP lawmakers backed DeSantis. Activists, influential conservative Bob Vander Plaats, who'd bet right on the past three winners of Iowa's Republican caucuses, missed with DeSantis this year. And the shoe leather work, Ramaswamy was the candidate who held the most events in Iowa, according to the Des Moines Register. The best Iowa Republicans could say was their caucuses weren't anywhere near the vote-counting disaster that Democrats faced in 2020, when the party couldn't immediately sort out whether Pete Buttigieg or Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders had won, a mess that led the Democrat National Committee to demote Iowa in its nominating process. Okay, that's critical. That's creative journalism there. Let me explain something about 2020. During the Iowa caucuses, they were hoping that Bernie Sanders was going to disappear. Bernie Sanders is an avowed socialist, although he's never lived in a socialist nation. He's never practiced socialist politics, either as a profession or as a human being. You know, he revels in the millions of dollars he gets from his books, doesn't seem to give that to the American Socialist Party. Don't know why that did. Why didn't he do that? Well, because Bernie Sanders is a fraud. But the Democrat Party was faced with Bernie Sanders turning their party into the Social Democrat Party as opposed to the Democrat Party. They panicked, and they had to do something about putting somebody in front of Bernie Sanders. And just like many people believe with the 2020 election, they rigged the Iowa caucuses, and they got caught red-handed doing it. By the time South Carolina came along, the fix was in. Joe Biden was going to be the nominee no matter what Bernie Sanders or anybody else did. Everybody got out of the way because they got their marching orders from the DNC. So it wasn't that Iowa had this terrible Iowa caucus in 2020 for the Democrats. It wasn't Iowa's fault. It was the DNC's fault. They wanted Bernie Sanders' money. They didn't want Bernie Sanders. They just wanted his money. They didn't want to lose that block of voters, but they should have told Bernie Sanders, by all means, go join the American Socialist Party. Good luck on your campaign. Take your money with you. But they didn't do it. And so South Carolina is now the first in the nation primary for the Democrats because Joe Biden doesn't have a chance to win this election unless they're able to electioneer it to the point where actual voting doesn't matter. And like everything else we see with the Democrat Party, if it's not working, don't change your message, change the rules. And that's not how you run a great nation. Not in my view. That's just my view. So CNN says, well, it's another blow to the Iowa caucuses. Yeah, they're just not as important as they used to be. Oh, yeah? We'll see in 4 years and find out whether or not it's still as important as it used to be. They are. They always will be. But there are an awful lot of people that want to argue against the reality. For example, there's a guy named Colin Reed of Fox News. And he was trying to find ways to minimize President Trump's victory last night. He did so by saying, oh, yeah, well, wait until New Hampshire. Yeah, okay, so it's Iowa. So it was overwhelming. So it was incredible. But you just wait until Iowa. Yeah, DeSantis probably is not going to be as close to President Trump. It's probably going to be Trump and Nikki Haley coming out of New Hampshire, right? But why would you try to minimize that victory? Well, there you go. We'll see. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number 817-379-2172. I've been doing an awful lot of talking about this. What did you see? What did you hear? What do you think? 817-379-2172. Waiting for your call here on the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. 817-379-2172. I have spent an awful lot of time talking to you about the, shall we say, editorial stylings of one Stephen Collinson of CNN. Stephen and I have a love-hate relationship. It's complex. Because there are times when he makes real good sense, and then there are times he's just out to flipping lunch. And that's just my opinion. I got to get him on the show. We got to talk. But he has come up with some analysis. And the analysis that he's come up with after the Iowa caucus starts with the headline, Trump's landslide Iowa win is a stunning show of strength after leaving Washington in disgrace. Really, Steve? Really? Yeah. He calls this one of the most astonishing comebacks in American political history. It's really funny. That never crossed my mind. Because to me, Trump didn't make some amazing political comeback. What he's doing is he's outlasting his detractors. Trump didn't go anywhere. Therefore, there was nothing to come back from. Everything that was being thrown at Donald Trump was political, and the people of the United States knew it, at least the people of Iowa. That's how I see it. So the big night's going to be in November when we take back our country, Trump told his first proper victory party since he shocked the world by winning the 2016 election. His MAGA hat-wearing crowd greeting him with chants of Trump, Trump, Trump beneath two vast screens, reading Trump wins Iowa. But the ex-president's rebound is more stunning for another reason. He won despite 91 criminal charges and the other legal entanglements. People do not believe in those particular entanglements. They simply do not. And people are realizing it. And one of them is Newt Gingrich. Newt Gingrich from Fox News, speaking with Sean Hannity, had this to say about the win yesterday.
I almost never write anything down. But listening to the two brilliant people, you just had two of the best analysts on American politics that we have. So I've got 5 quick points. One, this is the people's victory. Despite every media, despite every lawsuit, despite every effort to destroy Trump, the people of Iowa have stood up and said, no, he is our candidate. Number 2, he's the nominee. Get over it. He is the nominee. He's going to win the nomination. The news media doesn't want to say that because they need to somehow hype. Please watch us while we go through this charade. There is no candidacy for number 2. There is no number 2. There are irrelevancies. You get to be the leading irrelevant or the second irrelevant or the third irrelevant, but nobody's going to be number 2 because he's going to dominate totally if you look at the country at large, where he's at like 62 or 64% approval. Trump is not a candidate. Trump is the leader of a nationwide movement to take power back from the establishment. And that's why every time he's attacked by the judiciary, every time he's attacked by the news media, he gets stronger because people go, yep, that's what I thought. That's exactly what those corrupt people will do. And of course, starting with the Russian hoax, it's just clear these people lie all the time. Finally, Iowa has turned red. When I first got involved in politics, Iowa was a very competitive state and sometimes was a sort of Democrat state. But over the years, Iowa has moved away, and Trump is a big part of this. If you look at who's winning elections in Iowa today, they're Republicans. If you look at which party's collapsing in Iowa today, it's the Democrats. That's a harbinger, I think, of what the next few years are going to be like.
And so that's Newt Gingrich, one of the most astute politicians in the history of the American public, of the American Republic. He's unbelievable. And I think he nails it. I think he does. Now, is this a fait accompli? In other words, has Donald Trump wrapped it all up? No, not in any way, shape, or form. Because there are more weapons to be brought to bear on Donald Trump. The question is, are the people that are taking shots at President Trump ever going to realize that they're not wounding him? They're only making him stronger. This is the Wells Report. Coming up, that, believe it or not, there is news that happens to be beyond the borders of Iowa. We'll touch on some of that as we continue. This is the Wells Report. Back with more in a moment.
nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. I am John David Wells. Thank you for joining us. Telephone number 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Israel is beginning to wind down its operations in Gaza, and there is a lot of news on that. The intensive stage of the country's military offensive will end soon. This comes as the Israeli Defense Forces announced that one of its army divisions had exited the Gaza Strip last night. Upon hearing that news, a far-right Israeli minister criticized the IDF for pulling an army division out of Gaza. Israel's National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir has criticized the decision by the IDF to withdraw one of its army divisions from the Gaza Strip, saying the move will, quote, cost human lives. This is a far-right politician in Israel, and said that a rocket barrage launched from Gaza into Israel this morning proves once again that the occupation of the Gaza Strip is necessary for the realization of the combat goals. On Monday, the 36th Division, which comprised armor, engineering, infantry companies, withdrew from the Gaza Strip after 80 days of operations. The spokesman said they withdrew for a period of refreshment and training, and the division's future movements have not yet been decided. The withdrawal means that there are now 3 IDF combat divisions left in the Gaza Strip, alongside special forces, according to one of the spokespersons. Gvir's comments highlight the tensions that exist within the Israeli government, the wider defense and security establishment, over how much of a presence Israel should retain inside Gaza after the war. There is, in my opinion, a very simple solution, or at least an illumination of that. The more terrorism that Israel wants to tolerate should dictate the fewer troops they leave in Gaza for a less amount of time, because the two are linked. Hamas will create more terrorist events in Israel depending on how much they have Israeli Defense Force personnel and Israeli influence on the Gaza Strip, and for how long that happens. If Israel stays in the Gaza Strip, there will be less terrorist activity. If they leave the Gaza Strip, there will be more terrorist activity. It just depends on what the balance should be. Let's see, the Hamas Hamas-run health ministry, there we go, got to get the words in the right order, said more than 10,000 children have been killed in Gaza since October 7th. Yeah, it's really a problem. You know, you wage war on a country with a real military when you're just a bunch of terrorists. And man, especially when those terrorists, when you guys hide behind your children, it's amazing how many people you lose. You really ought to stop hiding behind your children if you don't want your children killed. Again, this is very simple. And there's no animus here. I'm just pointing out the realities. If you hide behind your wives and children and you just killed a whole bunch of Jews, the Jews are going to kill you back. And the people standing in front of you are targets too. Just saying. Maybe what you ought to do, if you don't want to lose your wives and children and grandmothers and so on and so forth, dogs, cats, what have you, maybe what you should do is get them out of the country first before you wage war. Just a safety tip for your kids. Just saying. Man, oh man. Let's see. Israel is working on the next stage of its war on Hamas. Here's what you need to know according to these updates from CNN. Israel's war in Gaza brought famine with such incredible speed, the United Nations relief chief said today, as he warned that hundreds of thousands of Palestinians are starving. Really? What about all those hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of trucks that go into Gaza every single day? Where's all that food going? Maybe the UN should start looking at that. You know, maybe there's something going on with that food and water and medicine that has nothing to do with whether or not it's available. Just saying. Iranian's Revolutionary Guards launched ballistic missiles at what it said was a spy base for Israel's intelligence agency Mossad and an anti-Iran terror group in Syria in the latest escalation of hostilities that further risk spiraling into wider regional conflict. The U.S. and UN condemned the strikes. Iran defended its actions, said the strikes were precise and targeted. Sure they were. U.S. seized Iranian-made ballistic missiles and cruise missile components from a vessel off the coast of Somalia last week that were destined for Houthis in Yemen, this according to CENTCOM. The European Council has added Yahya Sinwar, the political leader of Hamas, to the EU terror list in response to the October 7th attacks in Israel. That means his funds and financial assets will be frozen in European Union member states. The IDF said it believed that Sinwar was hiding underground in Gaza in December. Israel said it struck multiple Hezbollah targets in Lebanon on Tuesday this morning, the latest in a cross-border fighting conflict between the IDF and the Shiite militant group. The IDF said it conducted aerial and artillery strikes on what it says were Hezbollah targets in the area of Wadi Saluki in Lebanon. Saudi Arabia has called for a ceasefire. Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Saudi Foreign Minister called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. Faisal bin Farhan also said that Saudi Arabia could recognize Israel if there was a ceasefire and a creation of a Palestinian state. Okay. Now, you don't have to convince Israel. Saudi officials need to convince Palestinians. And that has been nearly impossible for 30, 40 years. But I wish them well. Israel said that Hamas is carrying out psychological torment after the militant group released a third video in the space of 24 hours featuring the same 3 hostages being held in Gaza, the last of which appears to show 2 of the captives dead. These are such nice people. Israel believes more than 100 hostages remain alive in Gaza. 1 person was killed, at least 17 injured in twin vehicle ramming attacks. We reported this yesterday in the central Israeli city of Ra'anana. This happened yesterday. Israeli police said 2 suspects held in custody were residents of Hebron in the occupied West Bank. Hamas said the attacks were a natural response to Israel aggression against Palestinians. All I can tell you is the Wells axiom when it comes to these kinds of things. If you kill Jews, Jews will kill you back. I don't know how to make it any more plain. Mark Thiessen sat down with Martha McCallum on Fox News to discuss this very topic. Check this out.
I want to start with this Axios quote about Biden running out of patience with Benjamin Netanyahu, as leader of the Israeli government. Says Biden hasn't spoken to Netanyahu in 20 days since a tense December 23rd call, which a frustrated Biden ended with the words, quote, "This conversation is over." They had spoken almost every other day in the first 2 months of the war. So it seems like the détente between these 2 leaders lasted maybe 60 days of this, but it doesn't sound like it's that cozy now.
And it doesn't sound like Netanyahu cares for Biden's advice or cares what his advice is. He's going to do what he has to do to protect the state of Israel, because that's what the Israeli people want. They are in the post-9/11 period where the country is united left and right behind doing this. And Biden is under pressure from his own party to rein in Netanyahu and rein back. So far, he's resisted it for the most part. But you look at those protests outside the White House. That's the Democratic base. I mean, you see those people clanging the gates, and imagine what the Democratic National Convention is going to be like. They're meeting in Chicago.
Yes.
This could be like Chicago 1968 with the anti-Israel, anti-Hamas protests for the entire country to see where the Democratic Party stands on this issue.
The Democrat Party is in huge, serious, almost unrecoverable trouble. Because what Mark Thiessen just said is absolutely correct. The people that are banging on the outer fence of the White House compound are Democrat base voters, which means a few things. First, the base voters of the Democrat Party are anti-Jewish bigots. They say that Israel is responsible for a genocide. But what they're actually trying to get done is they're trying to get a Jewish genocide handled and started, courtesy of the Palestinians and courtesy of this ignorant idea that the Palestinians have some kind of moral standing. They simply do not. They don't. They are a terrorist populace by choice. Not only are they themselves perfectly willing to be terrorists, they have been so for 60 years. but they will actually elect people so that they can be led by terrorists as well. And that is exactly what has been happening. The Palestinians have had their chance at 4 homelands. Meanwhile, Israel and the rest of the Arab world are trying to come up with some sort of peace, and they were on the brink of a real peace agreement. Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, all of these countries coming together. And that's when the Palestinians decided to go slaughter 1,200 Jews to foment a delay in what would be the normalization of relationships in the Arab world with Israel. It is a cynical abuse of almost basic reality. But the Democrats have a real problem here. Just exactly how do the Democrats want to define themselves? They are the party of totalitarian oppression against the American people with things like what kind of stoves you will cook your food on, what kind of food will be cooked on those stoves, what kind of light bulbs will light the kitchen as you're trying to cook your bugs, what kind of cars you will drive to go to the grocery store, which will likely only feature government-approved products, and on and on and on. Anti-Jewish bigotry on full display outside the White House, not by white supremacists, but by Democrat core voters. And it almost looks like the white supremacists that the Democrats are the most fearful of are the white supremacists in their own party, which, by the way, is traditional. The Ku Klux Klan was the enforcement arm of the Democrat Party regarding the steps forward made by African American citizens of this great country. It's amazing to see that the same kind of Nazism that we saw with the KKK has been foisted on the supposed white supremacists of the Republican Party. As a matter of fact, if you ask most people, they'll tell you that the Nazi Party was a right-wing organization. It was not. The Nazi Party was a left-wing socialist organization. Just like these people. And oh, by the way, the left-wing socialist organization that slaughtered Jews. What's the difference between those people and these same Democrats now spoiling for the end of Israel? Nothing. The flag is different. That's all. Meanwhile, a cynical President Biden attempts to morph MAGA into Nazi. Make America great again. Somehow saying that putting America first, the citizens of this great land, at the forefront of government effort, as opposed to being just simply a vassal of it, is wrong. That tells you everything you need to know about the Democrat Party. And what you're going to see as time goes by, unless they get control of it, is going to show you the snaggle-tooth, angry, upset, anti-American thug mob that the Democrat Party has become. I don't know. I think it was certainly 2020, maybe 2016, when I started asking this question. Why would anybody want to vote for a Democrat? Why would anybody who believes in the Constitution of the United States and or the Bill of Rights, why would any of those people want to vote for a Democrat? And now we see what I consider to be the wisdom in those words. Why would you vote for a Democrat for any reason? They're not Democrats. They're anti-American, bigoted thugs. And you're saying, my God, John David, you're just calling them names? Yeah, sort of like they called me names. And anybody else that voted for Donald Trump. Remember, we were all bigots. White supremacy is the most important domestic terror issue in the United States. All those BLM riots where they were trying to kill cops, that was just blind cops and burn them. That was just a peaceful protest. Really. You don't get to lie at that level when people can turn on their computer and hear a different point of view. I'm not saying I'm right, but I am. And they better start reacting, because the Democrats have turned themselves into the socialist, white supremacist, anti-Jewish, bigoted Democrat Party. And you can see it every time somebody waves a Palestinian flag. Look it over. You tell me if I'm wrong. 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. The Emmys were last night. The entire industry congratulated itself. We'll tell you a few of the highlights next on the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. Telephone number 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. I want to thank you very much for being a part of our broadcast. If you find value in this, please share it with your friends. Share the Wells Report with your friends. Subscribe to it. Ask your friends to subscribe. Make sure that you click the notification bell. Make sure that you ring the bell so that you know when we're on the air. Make sure that you give us thumbs ups. Those likes really help us out. They really do. And if you'd like to support the show financially, please by all means do so. Go to patreon.com/The Wells Report. It's right there on that small crawl at the bottom of the screen. You can give us $1 or $2. It means a great deal to us. If you can help us out, that would be awesome. You also make a one-time donation if you'd like to the Wells Report. The Emmys were last night, and arguably they were a lot less cringeworthy than what we've come to expect. For example, the 75th Emmy Award should have been a train wreck. They were braced for a show that would run early into this morning with 27 trophies being handed out on the air, more than half a dozen TV cast reunions staged. That was kind of weird. They had actual sets out there from all of these great sitcoms and so on, all these shows, and it went off without a hitch. In fact, it finished exactly at the 3-hour mark because of Anthony Anderson's incredible hosting skills. Being able to keep a program on time is one of the most difficult things people that are masters of ceremonies are confronted with. Anthony Anderson handled it. Good for him. So there were all kinds of things. Charlie Puth, who alongside duo The War and Treaty delivered a heart-tugging in memoriam performance of the Friends theme song, I'll Be There For You, paying tribute to Matthew Perry and other TV giants that we lost during the year. There were uncomfortable moments. Social media users were baffled by a montage of the most important TV moments throughout history, which wedged the September 11th terror attacks in between mashups like MASH and The Simpsons. You know, here are The Simpsons. Here's 9/11, the tower's falling down, and here's MASH. Somebody probably should have thought that over before they did it. Let's see what else. It started on a high note. Christina Applegate, who was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2021, came out. She choked back tears as she walked out with a cane, received a standing ovation. And then she said this, was very funny. Quote, "You're totally shaming me with disability by standing up." Yeah. She went on to say thanks very much for that wonderful show of graciousness. The creator and star of Abbott Elementary won her first Emmy for Best Comedy Actress. She got it from Carol Burnett. Whoa. She delivered her acceptance speech and said, "I don't know why I'm so emotional. I think just the Carol Burnett of it all." She said, wiping away tears, "I'm so happy to be able to live my dream. I just love comedy so much." And so there was this wonderful moment where Tina Fey and Amy Poehler got together to reprise Weekend Update from their time at Saturday Night Live in announcing the nominees and the awards on that turned out to be a very important award. Check this out. I think you're going to find this really entertaining. Check this out.
I'm Tina Fey, and we've reached the stage in life where we'll only present awards sitting down.
Tina Fey and Amy Poehler gave the Emmys audience a special Weekend Update reunion. The Saturday Night Live alums returned behind their iconic news desk to present the award for Outstanding Live Variety Special at the award show, and announced each nominee in the segment's signature style.
The only show that's longer than when they air Titanic with commercials on TBS, the Oscars.
The Tonys telecast was also nominated, and Tina threw in a reference to her new Mean Girls musical movie.
Celebrating the best in musicals that were based on movies which will probably be movies again. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. The 75th Annual Tony Awards.
Elton John was also nominated in the category for his Disney Plus concert experience, Elton John Live, Farewell from Dodger Stadium. And Amy cleverly made reference to the fact that if he won, he'd achieve the EGOT, winning an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony.
Elton John Live, Farewell from Dodger Stadium. Now, I can't speak for Elton, but he got to be excited about that.
Elton did win, cementing his EGOT status.
And the Emmy goes to Elton John Live, Farewell from Dodger Stadium.
The music icon wasn't there to accept the award, but his collaborators accepted it for him.
Sadly, he had a knee op. He's absolutely fine, but he wanted to send his love and thanks to the Television Academy for this incredible award. We didn't know that it was going to win him an EGOT. Thank you so much. We are so grateful. Thank you.
Elton did share a statement on the incredible milestone, writing, "I'm incredibly humbled to be joining the unbelievably talented group of EGOT winners tonight. The journey to this moment has been filled with passion, dedication, and the unwavering support of my fans all around the world. Tonight is a testament to the power of the arts and the joy that it brings to all our lives. Thank you to everyone who supported me throughout my career. I am incredibly grateful."
He is incredibly amazing, Elton John. Certainly the GOAT, greatest of all time. And now, EGOT. Man, think of that. Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony. Truly a Renaissance man. According to everyone, a Renaissance man by acclamation, Elton John. And that is the Wells Report. Thank you so much for being a part of our broadcast. Once again, if you find value in this show, share it with your friends, subscribe to it, ask your friends to subscribe. Make sure you ring the bell for notifications so that you know when we're on the air. Also, by the way, give us those thumbs ups. Please do that, and whatever you do, if you want to support the show financially, do so by going to patreon.com/The Wells Report. Our executive producer is Dirk Steele. Associate producer Jude Dankworth. I'm John David Wells. See you again tomorrow morning for another edition of The Wells Report. Well, okay. There you go. Man. Woo. So I wanted to bring something up here before I go. This morning, I spoke with our executive producer, Dirk Steele, and I did so because I wanted to say thanks to him. Everything you see here, from the crawl to the set to the way the show is formatted, the way we do it, the video capability that we do, is courtesy of Dirk Steele. And I called him on the phone to say thank you, because what goes on in the production of this broadcast is kind of amazing. I mean, it really is. The stuff that happens is it takes me a long time to get it done. And had it not been for the fact that I'd worked with Dirk Steele, who had done so much to make this show so much better, I would not have been able to get this show done at the level that you just saw. For the people that have been watching this broadcast or listening to it for, 23 years now, I want to thank you very much for sticking with us. And I know that you have seen this renaissance. Speaking of renaissance, I know that you've seen this renaissance as time has gone by. And I want to make it abundantly clear that it is because of the great people that have nurtured and nourished and guided this broadcast that it's here, and that you are responsible for why it's still here. So God bless you and yours. I'll see you again tomorrow, 9 a.m. Central Time. Another edition of the Wells Report. God bless all y'all. Take good care and do your best. I know it's not going to be possible, but try to stay warm. Good luck with that, okay? Until tomorrow, peace, love, joy. May good